After 18 years, I am no longer a developer. That chapter is officially closed. It's not because I failed, it's not because I fell out of love with it. Honestly, I've outgrown the seat. And that didn't happen in one moment. The last couple of years have felt like this slow accumulation of the same lessons, but from different directions and different reasons. I feel like I have grown a lot, both in my professional and personal life. But a lot of the beliefs that I had 5 years ago, 2 years ago, even last year have almost completely changed. You see, I used to go into projects thinking that I can just affect change, that I can just add value, that I can go and execute whatever needs to be done, and people will acknowledge that work on the back end. People will understand, and they will be able to see my worth and what I've been able to contribute. And that was a bad assumption. That was a bad way of looking at it. You see, more than ever, I had to be able to communicate my value, more so than demonstrate it and actually be the one executing. But the problem that I always made is that I always tried to tie my value to something that we would agree on the back end of me doing it, where I had no more leverage because the work was already done. And inevitably, as projects go on and things need to adapt and change as we go, people did try to hold me to unrealistic expectations. And a number of projects really spiraled out of control. Not because what they wanted wasn't possible, but more because the goalposts kept shifting. And more because if you can't communicate clearly what the expectations are ahead of time, then it always ends up being this negotiation and compromise, just to assess if things are where our expectations believe they should be. Whereas now I'm much more focused on communicating the outcome ahead of time, and to try to draw a clear line in the sand of what value I believe I bring to the table, what I believe I can execute on, what I believe is worth executing on, and my expectations. I've had this recurring realization on the past couple of projects that it hasn't actually come down to me or the thing I was hired to do, which is coding, that was the main deterministic factor of the outcome of the project. Almost every single time it came down to the decisions, and I've constantly found myself in the seat of being the guy responsible for executing and building things and moving things along, but I haven't been in the right seat to be able to make the decisions or make those hard calls when they need to be made. And again, I spent the last year and a bit at a startup where everyone was genuinely working hard, but there were some decisions that were just made too late, and ultimately we couldn't course correct on time. The point of this video is not that startup. I'll make another video about it. But the point is, I feel like this is the umpteenth time that I've watched this movie, where I can see the decision well ahead of time that needs to be made, where the right call is visible early on, but it's either made or taken too late, or not at all. And somewhere in the last year, the framing of how I look at that has completely flipped, where I've stopped seeing that as bad luck, and I've started seeing it as an opportunity. I've read it as information, as it's clear that I'm not where I should be standing, the seat in the organization, but also that I'm not really playing to the most of my own strengths. Yes, I can code and I can build things and I enjoy that, but my skill set in coding has landed me up in the seat of being the only one to actually execute. The guy who sits there for 20 hours a day figuring out what do we need to build, how do we need to build it, how can we be flexible with it, and building something to get out, building something so that we can at least move. But I would hold on to this negative energy because I would warn of icebergs that we were going to hit months ahead of time, and when leadership would just completely ignore it, sometimes they would acknowledge it, but they would say it's just not in our interest to address right now. And then when we would eventually hit those icebergs, it would be said that that's on me and that I was damaging my credibility for now hitting those icebergs, and just trying to point to the evidence in writing that, hey, I tried to warn the entire team that this is what would happen if we went down this path, and I wasn't the one with the power of the decision to take this path or not, but still held accountable for it. Just destroyed the culture, destroyed how I felt about myself, about what I was doing, and the energy that I was even trying to put into the project moving forward. What I've realized is my strengths are not just the coding, and with where AI is, a lot of that can be done for way cheaper and way quicker than if I were the one typing it out anyway. But the true value that I was bringing was being able to see the future. Now, no, not some kind of prophecy. I'm not claiming that I'm some kind of prophet or visionary, but what I was able to do is assess the situation and the reality compared to the big picture of what we were trying to do. I was able to understand the trade-offs and the consequences of those decisions that we were needing to make. And most importantly, I would see which decisions that if we did not make in time would be the final blow. Because it's not just about making that decision, but there's other stuff that need to come after it. There's other information that if we get, we still might need to course correct. And in those high pressure situations, that's where the leadership at the time just wasn't prepared to make the call. It's not that I'm trying to blame them at all. All the decisions that they've made seem perfectly reasonable. There's always some way to justify it. And when you go back and you trace all of those decisions with the information that was available to them at that time, and they had all of that understanding, and they had the understanding of the project and the reality of where they were, it makes sense about the decision that they made. And that decision is defensible. But that's still an excuse. The problem was never making the decision and then doing the work. The problem always came in on the back end where you didn't know how to measure it properly. You didn't know how to tell if you needed to course correct or not. The problem is you're only able to know if the project is on track with lagging indicators. So you'd only really know 6 to 8 weeks later. And again, none of it has come down to any particular people. It's more come down to the lack of the right processes. It's come down to misalignment and misunderstanding across the team. And ultimately, the main convictions that have grown over the last year for me are that if you have the right principles and the right intentions, almost anything can be turned around. but only if you're willing to make the call on time. And something I need to be honest about is, before AI got to the point that it is, being able to execute and code the way that I can, and being just the developer, because there's not many other people that have been able to fill the role the way I have, has been me sticking to my comfort zone. It's where I've been able to be right, because I can build the stuff and show it working without needing to take on that responsibility, because there's someone else in the responsible chair. And part of this whole repositioning is that era is over too. You see, I'm needing to move from just executing and making decisions to helping people make better decisions. There are so many people that now, with a $200 Claude subscription or Cursor subscription, they're able to take their experience and the work that they know how to do and do a whole lot more. They're able to go and get new clients, provide a whole bunch of new offerings, and they can be really creative, which is really cool. But the reality is that the tech world is changing. There are more than enough people that are willing to help build you an app or build you a website. There are more than enough people that will come through and assess your code and tell you, hey, this is wrong, or you need to rebuild. But I have yet to find someone who will actually sit down with a startup and truly assess them for what they need, and not just on-sell their services. I know of a couple of developers that have moved into fractional CTO roles, and they bill for a couple of hours a week, but they're still not affecting the change that they should be, because they don't have the right level of access or control within that organization. And the people on the ground doing the work are still doing their own thing. The missing variable is still being able to tell what is the right path to go down. But not only how do we know that's the right path to go down, how do we measure it so that we know where we need to course correct when needed, while there's still time to act on it. And that's what I'm focusing on. I'm building an agency or a practice, whatever you want to call it, that focuses on turnaround, that focuses on helping companies that feel like they're stuck in a hole. Maybe they've already tried to rebuild their tech. Maybe they've tried to rehire a new team. They're still in the same mess, the same problems. Maybe some new problems are showing up, but really there's a lack of clarity. They don't know what is the next right move to make. They feel like they're working harder than ever, but they're shipping less value than ever too. That's who I want to help. Those startups and teams that are in a hole that still have a bit of runway to get out of it. They need to make the right next moves. Those are all the people that used to call me to actually execute on it, to come and save the day, being the coder that does in a couple of weeks to a couple of months what they were unable to do in a couple of years. But I'm building the right systems around me, and I'm repositioning the way that I'm coming into the situation, a way that I've got more control on, where I can really surface the real problems, and using their own data, like minutes from their meetings, all the commits on their code base. I'm building tools in a way that it's not just my opinion, but I'm using real evidence and facts and data to back up why I believe we should take a certain route. And from there, if they want help executing, we can help put a team in place so we can find the right people, or ideally help them rebuild the culture properly within their organization, but where it no longer costs me 16 to 18 hour days of my own life. See, it is the end of an era. I'm no longer willing to just be a developer in a project. I will still be building stuff, mostly my own projects, my own ideas, and there's a few other things going on in the background too, but it's really scary because this is the first month of real uncertainty where I don't have another project bringing in a paycheck. For the first time in my life, I'm actually turning away those dev roles because I'm thinking about me, I'm thinking about my family, I'm thinking about what that's going to take from me. And honestly, for the first time in my life, I'm actually putting in the boundaries that I need to unlock the growth that I know I'm capable of. I'm not repositioning the channel. It's still focused on helping founders launch impactful ideas. It's still focused on trying to help make better decisions. And I still want to document building a couple of businesses, which we are in the process of doing. If you got this far in the video, thank you for watching. I know it hasn't really been informative. This stuff's been weighing on me quite a bit. My anxiety is insane with the uncertainty and the risk that it feels I'm taking. But at the same time, I am so excited. I'm excited to finally feel like I'm stepping into what I should be doing. So thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.